Hi, I'm Arno from Perona. We are the brand owners of Topanito Tequila, a brand that has been around since 2011, bringing the finest agave spirits from Mexico to Germany and other countries all over the world. Today we're gonna taste through the range of 100% agave tequilas that Topanito currently has to offer. We are starting with the Blanco 40%, that's one of our classic expressions, followed by the Blanco with 50%, which is a high proof expression, same liquid but diluted down to 50% of ABV. And then finally we're going to the aged expressions, Topanito Reposado, aged for at least 2 months in oak wood, and then our Añejo, aged for 1 year in ex-bourbon barrels. So let's pour ourselves a sip of Topanito Blanco. Color is crystal clear. There's no additives to this tequila. It's simply pure agave from lowlands and highlands. They're cooked in hornos and in autoclaves, so we've got a blend of these two mechanisms. Distilled to 55% ABV and then diluted down to 40%. So let's see what we got on the nose. Alright, very nice roasted aroma, so you really get this kind of horno clay oven roast notes here. Also a lot of fresh citrus notes, a little bit of spiciness. This smells very delicate. It gives one immediately the impression that this is good for sipping, but as well for mixing drinks, so it's definitely got enough body. And let's taste what we got here. Yeah, so it's very oily on the palate, which is nice. You can also see it probably here from the glass. Very oily, creamy texture. On the palate, extremely smooth. You got a long finish of agave flavor, citrus notes, roasted notes, a very warm feeling on the mouth. So this one is definitely a very nice, smooth sipper, but this one will also work extraordinarily well in any of your classic tequila drinks. So what do we have here? Tequila Blanco Fuerte. Fuerte means strong, and that's what this is. 50% ABV. And that's a little bit lower than the maximum allowed in tequila, so you may go anywhere in between 35 to 55% ABV for your bottled tequila. We would never do anything below 40% at Topanito because we really love alcohol as a carrier of aroma. And the more alcohol, the more aroma you can carry. So let's see what we got here. Alright, so here the nose is a little bit more reluctant. It's not jumping out as much of the glass as with the tequila 40%. And you kind of get the feeling that there's higher ABV behind it, but a little bit reluctant to open up. You definitely get like a little bit grassy, delicate agave flavors here. A little bit of spice, but overall tequila that needs a little bit of time to open up if you pour it into the glass first. And when we sip it, let's see what happens. Alright, so this one definitely has significantly more power than the 40% Blanco. It doesn't really have a burn, but you feel that it's a little bit more fiery than the 40%. And this one would definitely lend itself very well to a stronger margarita or any stronger tequila cocktail where you want a little bit of this extra punch while not being too much on the boozy side. So you still get a very well integrated alcohol, and this will mean more agave flavor in your drink. Next in the lineup, Topanito Reposado. Reposado means rested in Spanish or in Mexican. And the classification of a Reposado tequila means that it's rested or aged for at least 2 months in barrels. So in this case, our producer, which is Destiladora del Valle de Tequila, a producer sitting directly in Tequila Town in Mexico, they use those larger oak vats that carry around 3,000 liters of liquid. So there's not too much contact with the wood, but you definitely get a lot of these woody flavors in there. Let's pour a sip to enjoy. And see what we got. Alright, very different to the Blancos already. You get like slight vanilla notes, you get woody notes, you get honey notes. It's a very warm aroma, very inviting to take a sip. You still get this grassiness and the citrus flavors or aroma that you would get from a tequila, so it's also very clearly defined as a tequila. And let's sip. Yeah, very consistent in terms of nose versus mouth flavor. You get the same notes, very warm, honey-like, a little bit of oakiness, a little bit of vanilla. Very smooth, extremely smooth. So this is definitely smoother than any of the Blancos. And that's also why it's quite popular, because this is really an 100% agave tequila that is fun to sip on its own. And you don't have to worry about headaches, you don't have to worry about hangover, whatever. It's just nice. Alright, last but not least, Topanito Añejo. We just launched this one last year as part of our rebranding of the brand. So this is a new item. Añejo tequila is an expression that is aged for at least 1 year in oak barrels. So our Topanito Añejo is aged as well for at least 1 year, and they actually use old ex-bourbon barrels. So these are like 200 liter barrels where you got plenty of contact with the wood, so there's a lot happening during the aging process. You got much stronger aging notes than with a reposado. And typically Añejo is used for different kind of drinks. Like it could be for an old fashioned, for example. It could be for sipping, of course, but you would less use it for a margarita, for example, or Paloma, because it carries less of the fruitiness of the citrus notes of a typical tequila and more of the aged notes. So on the nose, first thing that you definitely smell is barrel. Quite a bit of bourbon barrel actually here. And if you like bourbon, like I do, this is great actually, because it kind of blends the best of two worlds together. You get the agave flavor, the citrusness, the fruitiness, but then also these kind of bourbon whiskey notes. This one in particular has a lot of vanilla. How does the vanilla get in there is because these barrels are charred and the liquid extracts the vanilla from the charred barrels. So in the nose, it tastes a little bit like, smells a little bit like crème brûlée. It already gives you the idea that you would simply want to pour this over ice or put it into an old fashioned to enjoy it. In the mouth, actually, it feels like it's a little bit sweet. There is no sugar added here though. There is no agave syrup added. That's simply from this very strong presence of vanilla aroma that you get here. Again, it's extremely smooth. It's different to the reposado, so it definitely got much more of the woodiness again on the palate. It tastes a little bit more mature, so not as young as a reposado, but more of these like aged spirit notes. Very nice liquids, simply to sip. I wouldn't probably even mix this. I would maybe pour it over a cube of ice in a rocks glass and just enjoy it on the balcony. I could also imagine this going very well with a cigar. Definitely a sipper that doesn't really need to be mixed. Nice. And that's it already for today. So we've tasted ourselves through 4 expressions of Topanito. This year is our 15th anniversary for the brand, and I can tell you there's a couple of new items that are going to be released later this year. We're speaking year 2026, so watch out. We can't reveal anything yet, but it's going to be exciting news, both in the Blanco and in the aged tequila range. So I'm looking forward to see you next time when we have the new expressions here on board as well, and then we're gonna do the same format and taste ourselves through the extended range. Until then, have a good time. Salud.